Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of the Veggie Life live chat. I am your host, Carlos Lyons, and I have a really cool special guest with us on today. His name is Ruben Lozano. He is a Dallas vegan police officer, and he has been on the force for about 16 years. And I'm talking to him today about masculinity and the vegan lifestyle. So really looking forward to having this conversation on today. How you doing, Ruben?
I'm good, Carlos. How are you, bud?
I'm doing very well, man. So just want to jump right into it, man. How would you define masculinity and how that works with your plant-based lifestyle?
Man, that's a really good question, and it's also a hard question because I think that the world in general defines masculinity as somebody who has a certain set of skills. Somebody who can work on cars, somebody who can work in contracting and build houses and go up there and cut trees and you name it. I mean, all the things that the world has taught us that these are all manly things. You're very masculine if you can do these things. So, in my perspective, I think that masculinity is essentially a state of mind. So, for me, I don't think that those things define who a person is. I think what defines who a person is in terms of masculinity is if you're a good father, if you're a good husband, if you're a good son, if you're a good student, if you're a hard worker. All of these things, in my opinion, make up what it is to be essentially a real man. And not to knock those people who have those skill sets, but I mean, at the end of the day, they're skill sets, and I respect them for that. But I don't think that those skill sets, in essence, makes you a man or more masculine than anybody else.
Oh, that's excellent, excellent. And can you tell me just a little bit about your story and how you got started becoming a cop, or just what brought you into that profession as a police officer?
So when I was younger, I grew up in Oak Cliff, and I ran with a lot of bad people. I hung out with some bad kids, and we did some things that I'm not proud of. But it's those choices that I decided to make in life that led me to where I am now. It all started when I was in high school, obviously, middle school into high school, and I started to hang out with the wrong crowd. And I don't come from a broken home. Both my parents are still married, and they were great parents. But at some point, we make our own decisions, free will. And it was, came to a point where I was doing some bad stuff, and the campus officer on school caught us doing these bad things. Everybody else ran away except for me, and I didn't run away because I didn't think that I thought that I was untouchable. Essentially, as kids, we normally do. But the school resource officer was really good friends with my mom, and he pulled me to the side and said, I know your mom. The only reason you're not going to jail is because I know her and she's good people. And I think that you have a lot of potential. I see a lot in you, but if I catch you with these kids again, then I'm going to make it my goal to essentially put you away and make you pay for your consequences. And it was that turned it around for me, that I started to kind of social distance from those people, and I started to try to focus more on my studies and make new friends. And it was in that moment that he spared me. He could have changed my life forever. So I strive to do that. When I come in contact with young people or just people in general, if I can be that person that gives them a chance because I see that they've got a future and some potential, then I'm all for it because somebody blessed me with that chance.
Okay. And how did you get into the whole plant-based vegan lifestyle? Like, what led you to becoming a vegan?
Dude, it started with a veggie pizza. It started with a veggie pizza. We ordered two pizzas, a meat pie and a veggie pie, and for the longest time, I'm 38 years old. I was constantly eating meat products. I came from somewhat of a bodybuilding background where I loved meat, I loved working out, and I saw that these things were doing to my body, and essentially what I felt was fueling my body. But at the same time, I had tons of inflammation. So I'm eating this meat pizza. It's amazing. I pick up this veggie pizza to take a bite, and it was absolutely amazing. Now, mind you, it wasn't vegan. It still had dairy product on it, but the veggies on it tasted so much more better than the meat pizza, and I couldn't understand for the life of me how that was possible. So I told myself I'm going to experiment with um, going vegetarian, and and then I said, well, why vegetarian? Let me push the envelope and go full plant-based, right? For 2 weeks, I'm just going to do it as a test to see how my body responds. Because at that point in my life, man, I was struggling to go to the bathroom. I had tons of inflammation. I was struggling to sleep. I was very tired throughout the day and things of that nature. So I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. So essentially I did it. I did it overnight. Like, I want to say that that was like on a Thursday or Friday. I planned everything on the weekend, what I could and couldn't eat. I went shopping for it. And then I, started just, prepping my meals. And then within those 2 weeks of me experimenting on what I could cook, documentaries started to pop up. And dude, I was blown away. Like, one of the first documentaries I watched, and it's a hard one to watch if anybody is trying to go vegan. It's called Dominion. And it's like 6 o'clock in the morning. I was on the treadmill, and I'm like, I'm just gonna watch this documentary to see what it's about. And mind you, this is 2 weeks into it, and it shows you an inside look of the animal agriculture industry and what our animals are going through. And I remember getting 10 minutes into it, and I was just heartbroken to see, how these animals are being treated. And that's what essentially made the change for me. I mean, I get choked up talking about it now because to me, it just wasn't okay. So from that point on, I decided to just flip the script and say, I can't, in my right mind, consciously contribute to an industry that's harming living beings that essentially want to live. So
That's excellent, man. Thank you for sharing that. And so what year did you actually transition into veganism? Was it like in the last 5 years or?
no, man, it's only been a year.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Only been a year.
Yeah.
So 2019?
Yeah. 2019, man. They say it was a year for the vegan, man, because all these places are starting to offer new plant-based options on their menus, like Burger King, KFC, and things of that nature. And then, of course, you've got tons of innovators here in the Dallas area. So that was a tremendous help for me in transitioning, was going to the farmer's market, finding BAM's vegan, vegan vibrations, pineapple vegan Nunos, all of these people who were pioneers in the industry of vegan culinary art, man, because essentially their food is a work of art. And when you try it, you can never really tell the difference. So I strive to promote them all the time because it helped me. Their meals helped me. Going there on a Saturday morning and deciding what I wanted to eat was the highlight of my weekend, honestly. So thank you to all the the innovators here in Dallas for helping me transition.
Wow, man, that's excellent to hear, man. Because I actually started my vegan journey in 2019 as well. So like at the beginning of January, I literally like made, and I still call myself a vegetarian because
Yeah,
of the fact that I am not, I don't really try to make it like for my personal conviction, I don't try to make it like a legalistic thing about if I have
mm,
something that has dairy or something in it.
yeah,
But for the most part, like definitely, I would say 80 to 90% of the time, it's definitely straight up vegan stuff. If I
yeah,
happen to have something that had dairy in it, then that is what it is. But um, I'm definitely trying to move to more of like a raw vegan,
yeah, definitely.
lifestyle at some point.
I'd like to do that too and eliminate some of like the faux meats, so to speak, and go more plant-based into like the raw direction. So it's something that I'm researching and I'd like to eventually start experimenting with in the kitchen because man, some of these people that I find on Instagram are just amazing at what they do, and I want to eventually get there and see what I can create.
And how did you get started in the kitchen? Like I've seen your Instagram page and your culinary skills are amazing. Like the quality of your food and the way you like decorate it and like make
Yeah,
the presentation look very appealing. And I
thank
always
you,
say
thank
that
you.
vegan chefs or people that are into vegan cooking or vegan cuisine, they really have to make the food look just as appealing or even better than the normal
Absolutely.
stuff, so that it can catch people's eye.
Yeah. So when I moved out of my parents' house many, many, many years ago, when I got my first apartment, I was determined not to be that bachelor that opened his refrigerator and had, bologna meat and cereal and eggs and stuff like that, and a you know, half consumed gallon of milk. So what I did is I went out and I bought a cookbook, and I bought a cookbook called Eating for Life by a bodybuilder by the name of Bill Phillips. And I'm a visual learner, so I like to see pictures to see what the meal is essentially supposed to look like or how it's going to come out. So I took that book and I wrote down a couple of recipes throughout the week, and I would go and I'd shop for that. I'd come back and I'd try to cook it. So I was following a lot of recipes starting on, and eventually I just started to develop a passion for cooking. I enjoyed the art that came out of putting your heart and soul and your muscle into creating a meal, and then bring it to fruition on a plate, and it's just looking super appealing because we eat with our eyes first. So I'm a huge supporter in making the meal look pretty, because if it looks like slop, then yeah, you might eat it. I mean, some people might, but it's not going to be appealing to you mentally. But if it's appealing and you can make it look pretty, man, somebody's going to be more inclined to say, I want to try that. So it started way back then, man, and I just kind of carried it on. And then when I got into working out and learning about some nutrition, I started to follow a guy on Instagram. His name is Kevin Curry. He's got an Instagram handle, Fitman Cook. And I didn't realize he was from Dallas. I had no idea he was from Dallas until one day I saw him walking in downtown, and I was like, total fanboy moment, man. I had to stop and talk to him. Right, snapped a picture. We exchanged numbers. We started chopping it up, and then we became really good friends and workout partners. So we worked out a lot together. We'd go out on weekends. I mean, he was like my best friend. We're still friends to this day. But he taught me a lot, and one thing that he asked me, he's like, where do you want to go in your fitness journey? And I told him, I want to build muscle, I want to lose weight, I want to do these certain things. So he helped me, and then following accounts like his really inspired me to get creative in the kitchen as well. And that was years ago when I had my first Instagram. And then I got off of social media altogether for a while. And then I started up the Dallas Vegan Cop because I started to create meals, and I started to essentially impress myself, man, because I didn't know that you can make these veggies look a certain way, taste a certain way. And I was like blowing myself away. I was like, man. And then the more that I would go and visit, the innovators at the Dallas Farmers Market, or the more that I would go to Nuno's, or I'd go to the Vegan Food House or Spiral Diner and things of that nature, it got my wheels turning. Like, how can I do this? How can I take what they're doing and recreate it in my kitchen? Not that I'm not going to go and support those businesses, but if I ever wanted, and I don't want to leave the comfort of my own home, how can I put that same flavor that they're putting on my plate? So that's it in a nutshell, man. So shout out to Fitman Cook Kevin Curry for inspiring me early on in my journey.
That's awesome, man. And you just mentioned, as far as like your inspiration, would you say that so Kevin Curry and the bodybuilding book that you got also, that was kind of like your inspiration for getting into the kitchen?
Yeah, definitely. Because before that, man, I didn't really know what I was doing. And, I'm a firm believer that anybody can learn how to cook. I mean, I'm a prime example. You just have to really you have to have the desire and the drive to want to get in there. And that's the thing. Some people say that, well, I just don't like cooking, is boring. For me, it's very therapeutic. So when I cook, it's literally just me in the kitchen, and I have my music on playing in the background, and it's just me, whether it's chopping vegetables, boiling rice, making my sushi, things of that nature. And to see it come together, for me, the end result, I'm looking at the end result. So that end result for me is very inspiring to get there. And I'm just doing my best to try to, make it look good, So yeah, I mean, but there's tons of people that have inspired me, tons of other Instagram accounts that I see their meals and their preparation. It just keep me going to want to create, better things, or more, innovative vegan creations.
Excellent, man. Excellent. Now, as far as being a cop, I know that being in shape is pretty much a must, right? Am I correct in that?
Oh yeah, of
Okay.
course. I
So
mean,
how do you?
you'd think.
Oh, right, exactly. So how do you ensure that you get the daily nutrients necessary to function well on the job?
So, growing up in like a few years back when I used to work out religiously, and I used to use an app called My Fitness Power. I could track everything that I ate. I'd plug in, the numbers if I ate a 4 or 5 ounce piece of chicken or steak and things of that nature. It did the work for me. I don't utilize that now just because it's a little bit more difficult, because now it's like I'm just putting stuff on a plate, really not measuring it out. So I do my best essentially not to really focus on the numbers. I just do my best to kind of just eat a lot of whole foods, whether it's spinach, broccoli, carrots, things of that nature, things that I know it's going to provide me with the vitamins and nutrients that I need, and as well as quinoa, black beans, rice, things of that nature. So I do my best not to essentially focus so much on the numbers, and just try to generally understand that what I'm putting in my body essentially is nourishing me. And I know that in my mind I'm getting enough protein, because that's the biggest thing that people come at you with when you're a vegan. Where do you get your protein? I can guarantee you that most people, the general public, they don't understand how much protein essentially they're consuming on a day-to-day basis. If I ask you, well, how much protein is in one whole egg, they're going to have no idea. I know those things because I used to weigh my food out, strategically for the purpose of fueling my body. I knew how much protein I needed on a daily basis, how many carbohydrates I needed on a daily basis, and how many fats. And the more that I weighed that stuff out, the more that I just got a mental image. I could just cut a piece of chicken and say, well, that's about 4 ounces, and that's going to give me about 24 to 25 grams of protein. I could do that. But the average person doesn't know that. So they just automatically assume that they're getting enough protein. And that's the number one question, is where do you get your protein? And they don't understand that protein in its true form comes from plants. And then we're feeding that stuff to the animals consuming it, it's getting the protein from those plants. So all we're doing as vegans and whole food plant-based individuals is going straight to the source and not getting it from a secondary source. But as far as I'm concerned, in terms of protein, man, I love chickpeas. I eat tons of chickpeas. I can tell you, like in about a half a cup of chickpeas, you're going to get about 6 grams of protein. Same thing for quinoa and things of that nature. So and you're consuming all of these things that are not going to cause inflammation, that are not going to spike, insulin levels and things of that nature. And it's essentially nourishing your body, man. So I'm all for just eating those whole food plant-based things and trying not to focus on the number, because if I focus on the numbers, then I'm gonna get kind of jumbled, and I'm setting myself up for failure. But like I said, it's difficult to track those things for me. I'm sure if somebody has a different way to track it, by all means, let me know. But it's I go out day-to-day basis in my job, and I know that I'm full and I'm fueled, and I'm not eating tons of foods that are calorie dense and high in fats, and I'm still able to perform at peak performance.
That's excellent, man. So another question I want to ask are, what are some common misconceptions that you hear as it concerns being a vegan, and a male vegan, and what ways do you push back against those misconceptions about masculinity
The,
and veganism?
so there's two that I get all the time. The first one is the where do you get your protein? You're not going to get enough protein from a plant-based diet. And then of course, I kind of, push back in terms of saying, like, the average American consumes about 270 pounds of meat. That's meat a year. The government recommends about 125 pounds of meat per person per year. So we're doubling that, right? And that's a problem. So that's the common misconception, obviously, is that you can only get your protein sources from meat products. That's the number one. The second one is that somehow consuming soy is going to lower your libido. It's going to cause gynecomastia, which is the tissue around the boobs. So you're going to get man boobs. Like I said, lower your sex drive, and it's going to kill your free testosterone. And that's a huge common misconception because I consume lots of soy, and I mean, I don't overdo it. I do it in moderation, but I don't see myself, I don't see any of my gains going away in the gym. I don't see my sex drive dropping any, and I sure as hell don't see me developing any tissue around my mid area. And I mean, as far as how I push back, I mean, I just kind of, I'll hit them with a couple of sources, a couple of websites. One of the studies that I looked into tremendously is which one it's called. I want to say it's on examine.com, and if you just go to examine.com and put in soy and testosterone, it'll pull up a study that was posted by some researchers and essentially debunking the myth that soy is bad. Now, I will say this: over consuming it, yeah, I mean, it might can have some negative effects, but I think the study just showed if you stay within the 10 to 70 grams a day range of soy products, then you're going to be fine. So, I mean, if you want to go out and eat that, eat that soybean patty, or you want to eat that tempeh or that tofu, or you want to have a scoop of soy protein, it's not going to hurt you. I mean, just everything in moderation.
And that is an excellent point you make about the moderation piece. I'm definitely trying to strike the balance for myself with, wanting to make sure that I'm as whole food, plant-based as possible. But then every now and then you want to splurge, like, having a vegan pizza with all the, I guess,
Yeah,
the soy-based toppings on it.
yeah. And that was the thing for me, man. Like when I transitioned, so when I was a meat eater, so to speak, throughout the week, I would literally kill myself in the gym. I would, work out as much as possible. I would eat as clean as possible. And then on the weekend, I would binge eat. What was supposed to be my cheat meal turned into a cheat day. And then it would turn into a cheat Saturday and a cheat Sunday. And then on Monday morning, when I would wake up, I would feel sluggish. I'd feel like crap. I felt bloated. I felt tons of indigestion, and you name it. I had it on Monday morning. And then Mondays were my day to kind of reset. So I'd reset on Mondays, and then the pattern continued. Going on a plant-based diet, for me, yeah, my cheat meals include, tacos from Nuno's or Southern fried stuff from Vegan Food House and stuff like that. But it's not I'm not waking up on a Monday morning inflamed. I'm not waking up feeling lethargic and tired and just sick to my stomach, and I don't feel that way anymore because the source of your nutrients is coming from essentially plants. Yeah, maybe deep fried a little bit in oil and things of that nature, but a little bit of that's not going to kill you.
Very true, very true. And I would also like to ask you concerning, being a cop. Someone asked, have you had any challenges as far as like being on the force, with sharing your vegan lifestyle? And are there any jokes or insensitive comments made by some of your coworkers who may be uneducated about
Yeah.
why you're doing this and why you live the way you do?
All the time, all the time. I get negativity from my coworkers specifically all the time. We live in a world where key point masculinity. They think that because you're a cop, you're an alpha male, and you got to be masculine in order to be in that profession. Yes and no, and I find myself trying to shake the haters off more than anybody, man, because the negative comments just keep coming. Whether it's a side joke, they're throwing shade at me. I mean, I think I shared a text message with you yesterday with one of the guys, who took your promo Snapchat, one of my coworkers, and said, "Oh, I didn't realize you're on a comedy show, right?" And I do my best to kind of block that negativity out as much as possible, but sometimes, man, it's just hard, and you got to snap back. But I'm a firm believer that eventually, when it hits the fan for them, health wise, that they're going to be asking questions. And when they ask questions, I'll be there to help them, the best of my ability. And I want to see everybody succeed. So any of my friends who go through a change in their life, and if they see it as a change for the better, I'm going to celebrate their successes and not hold them back. So it's a little disheartening when I get shade thrown at me from people that I consider to be really good friends of mine because we've worked together forever. But I understand that people lack understanding. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's if you don't like what I post, just keep it pushing. You know what I mean? Keep scrolling. Just keep scrolling. Because there's times where people will post something that I disagree with, and I refuse to be a keyboard warrior and get online and start, debating them because you can't change somebody's mind. They have to want to change it for themselves. And all I can do is plant the seed. That's it. So if I'm planting the seed, whether it's posting a meal here and there, and getting them to engage visually with what I'm plating in my kitchen, and it gets them to say, "Man, I need to probably rethink what I'm eating," or "I just watched the Game Changers and that was pretty eye opening," or "I just watched What the Health and dude, something's got to change." So if I can just plant those seeds, man, whether it's posting a picture online, whether it's saying, "Hey, watch this documentary," um, got to do the work. You know what I mean? And without me even having to do anything else, and all I'm doing is just planting the seed, just putting it in their mind, and eventually it'll grow. It may take several years, but at least it'll get rooted and grow.
That's an excellent point, man. Definitely an excellent point. And how have you convinced or how have you shared your vegan lifestyle with your parents? So you and I both come from minority cultures, and from I know speaking for Black people for sure that it's not a very common thing to be vegan. You know, the type of food that we love to eat, the comfort foods, the fried chicken, and all that stuff. It's just not a common thing to see. So how have you kind of shared this with your own community in the Latino community?
So my parents, I mean, we come from like-minded cultures. You know what I mean? We eat what our parents would feed us, and then they ate what their parents would feed them. So it wasn't unlike us, or uncommon, I should say, for us to wake up on a Sunday morning and eat what we call menudo. Menudo for us was like intestine lining cut into chunks with some hominy and some broth and stuff like that. And I mean, growing up, man, that was a staple in our household. Eating something that we call lengua, which is a cow tongue that you could go to the market and you can get it whole and boil it and spice it and then shred it up and put it in your tacos for breakfast, or you can get it already shredded. These are the things that we would eat on a weekly basis, and so it has been very somewhat challenging and difficult. My mom, I'll say this, she's super supportive, man. So anything that my mom sees that I'm doing, and if she sees that it's beneficial, and like I said, I'll just plant that seed and say, "Mom, don't eat that because it does this," or "Mom, don't eat that because it does this. Try an alternative source." She'll do those things. Now she still, will consume fish and things of that nature. She still has her vices, but she's a little bit more open-minded when it comes to me suggesting certain things for her, because ultimately, man, I want my parents here for the long haul, for longevity. My dad's got a plethora of health issues, man, and I can tell you, like, I can go to his refrigerator, open it up, and the door panel inside the refrigerator is more medication than food. You know what I mean? And I don't want to be that way. For me, that's a huge inspiration for me to change, for me to transition to this lifestyle, because I want to, if I do have children, I want to be able to run around and jump without getting winded and without getting tired and lethargic and things of that nature. And I literally just want to be here for the long haul. I'm really concerned the older that I get about my health. I mean, I'm 38 years old now, and I want to live to be older, and I don't want to be 1 foot in the grave and 1 foot on the banana peel. You know what I mean? I want to be here for the long haul, and if I can plant those seeds for my dad, I'm still praying, that he changes his ways. But sometimes it's difficult to change older people. You know what I mean? So, but it's difficult, man. It's difficult. I'm telling you.
I definitely can attest to the fact that, when you have family members set in certain kind of rhythms, the older you get, it's hard to change those rhythms. But I remember for my father, he passed away like 48 from a lot of different health complications.
Sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah. And for me, it was just really important for me to kind of think through some of the stuff that we had kind of pre-existing, genetically, so to speak, which I honestly don't think that a lot of the stuff that we deal with is truly genetic or hereditary. It's just lifestyle choices that we've made that have kind of been passed down.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so for me, it was important. He told me to think through that. And so I definitely did. And that's really another reason why I changed my mind about, my eating habits in 2019. It was really because I didn't want to continue going towards like the pre-diabetic,
Hmm.
status that I was headed towards. So it definitely was important for me. And I just like sharing this message because honestly, I like the way I feel eating this way. I like, and you said you're 38, like you don't even look like you're about 40.
Thanks, man. I appreciate
Yeah.
it. Number one, I would tell people to have a reason. You know what I mean? What is your why? What is your why for wanting to do this? Whether it be health reasons, whether it be, you know, whether it be for the planet, for shutting down agriculture industry, for the animals, for life and things of that nature. Figure out your why. Figure out why you want to do it first. And then number two, have a plan. Figure out on a day-to-day basis, on a week-to-week basis. Like I said, for me, Saturdays are my time for me to put pen to paper, figure out what I want to eat, what I feel like recreating in the kitchen on a Sunday, whether it be meal prepping for the week or whether it be me wanting to just create one meal to kind of display on social media. And then, throughout the week, if I haven't meal prepped, figuring out what places have certain things that I can eat, and what places are going to be harder for me to make, conscious decisions on staying the course of this plant-based vegan lifestyle. So number one is figure out your why. Number two, obviously, is have a plan, because if you don't have a plan, if you don't meal prep, it's going to be very, very difficult, because if you go out to work and your coworkers want to go to work or want to go out to eat, so I'm sorry, I got to correct myself. If you want to go out to eat, it's going to be more difficult for you to make those decisions, and it's going to be easier for you to fail, because the menu is going to come and you're going to see the things that you used to order, and that's going to trigger something mentally, and you're going to say that meal's not going to hurt, but at the end of the day, you got to figure out, what's best for you, and remember why you did it. If you did it for true activism for the animals, then you got to refrain from ordering that stuff. If you did it for your health, you got to stop. You got to refrain from ordering that stuff. I mean, because it's very easy for you to fail. And like for me, now going out to eat, I don't see a steak anymore. I see the cow. I don't see bacon. I see the pig. I don't see I see for the animal that it was. So when I see a piece of chicken or a piece of steak, I don't see that. I see the process. Mentally, I see the process, because I've watched those documentaries of how it's done and how brutally these animals are treated. And now I see that. I see the pain that a living being had to go through just to get on my plate, man. And for me, I choose compassion over taste. And I tell people that all the time, man. I love every being, every living being. And I would rather, I'd rather think about the compassion than how good a steak used to taste.
Definitely, definitely, man. Well, listen, I so appreciate you for being a part of this conversation today. This was really great and eye-opening. Hopefully this will help somebody out there
Yeah,
in
man.
social media, YouTube, all that fun stuff. So thank you. I appreciate you, Ruben, for doing this, and we'll definitely continue to stay in touch.